We got most of the show here to break down the preseason action over the weekend, the Lions, the rookies. We're going to get into Jameson Williams because shows are going to talk about it. And I didn't want to spend a bunch of time on J-Mo because there's a lot more to cover than just Jameson Williams. But he is the biggest storyline, at least in that game. Former first-round pick, a guy who was one of the most electric players I've ever seen in college football. Missed his first season, majority. Now he comes back, he's suspended. But these preseason games, Sam Flannel, are important to him. He's going to have to get reps. And you would have liked to see Jared Goff for him to kind of build rapport in a game setting. But it was Nate Sudfeld, a guy who he's been with in practice, he's worked with in practice, and we know Jameson has shown things in practice.
Sure.
Like we saw the reports. He's also had some bad days, but on top of that, man, he's been the first one into practice for the majority of the time, and he's executed. And he's burnt guys like Cam Sutton in practice. But now we get to the preseason action. Deonte Banks, rookie corner, is matched up with them. And do you have the play of J-Mo?
We'll pull her up.
All right, so here's
this is the Iafredi film too, if I'm not mistaken.
This is per a source. Jeff Iafredi caught this on camera here, and this is something I recorded. But he had about a step on him, and that should have been hauled in 100%. Like that was a catchable ball in the NFL. That's open. Like with the windows you see in the league now, like that's open. Nate Sudfeld dropped it in a bucket. Yes. So he should have hauled that one in for a catch. But again, this is the point of preseason, and Dan kind of talked about it. Dan, he understands this is his first training camp. At the same time, people forget that because last year he was just kind of observing. So for him to be back, his first preseason game, Sam Flannel, what are your takeaways of Jameson Williams so far?
I thought his performance on Friday was, in a word, underwhelming. I will just say that. And I think we can all agree to some point that it was, because with the usage he got, which was probably the most usage he's ever gotten in an actual NFL game, albeit in preseason, he didn't really perform to the level that I expected him to. And I get it. If he hauls in that catch and maybe even scores a touchdown, he probably would have been taken down at the 2 or the 1. Then you'd look back at this and say, man, he played a really, really good game. He made that play that he was like basically drafted to make, but he didn't. Obviously, he burnt Deonte Banks. I don't know about burnt, but got open against him. And Nate Sudfeld threw probably the best pass he's ever thrown in his life, right in the bucket, and Jameson Williams just didn't hang on to it. And that's why we have to look at each play by play, because a lot of people are going to be like, what would you expect Jameson Williams to do? Nate Sudfeld was throwing him the ball. But Nate Sudfeld actually threw as perfect of a pass that any quarterback could make, and Jared Goff just dropped it. That's my thing. Jameson Williams was not good enough in this game. I'm not saying he's a bust. I'm not saying get him out of town. I'm not saying that it's going to ruin his trajectory with the team. I'm just saying, is it fair, guys, and I'm genuinely asking, to say that it was underwhelming without overreacting too much? Is that fair?
Yeah, no, and that's fair. I don't think we should come on this show and be like, listen, J-Mo was excellent. There's definitely room for growth for J-Mo, but there certainly are positives. And I think Joey 2 times, shout out to him, by the way, he dropping facts as usual. He says, I like that J-Mo is a willing and capable blocker, though it seemed like he enjoys pushing around DBs. And that's the stuff you look for, at least with guys like Amon-Ra. He sets the tone. Right, he's dependable in the passing game, but he's deadly in the block in run blocking. I mean, he makes guys pay, and J-Mo showed that last year, even when he didn't produce as much as you'd hope for late in the season. Although he was playing limited snaps, he was out there getting his nose dirty. He was throwing blocks in the run game.
Crucial one against Minnesota to break Justin Jackson open.
Yes, he did. Correct. So again, that's one thing you take away. J-Mo did a lot of the little things correctly, but still, that ball you got to come down with. And that kind of goes back to what Dan said about his hands. He may never have elite hands, but he doesn't have to, right? He's a guy that is dynamic, has dynamic speed, and if he just has decent hands, he's going to make big plays for the Detroit Lions. He showed that last year in a small sample size. But to your point, Sam Flannel, was it underwhelming to say the least? Would you expect a guy like a Jameson Williams, although he doesn't have as many reps as a Julian, but Julian, of course, showed he separated himself from everybody else. He showed he's much better. Jameson didn't really show that too much, that he's much better. But again, one preseason game isn't enough sample size for me to say that definitively. I need to see him in more action. But that first game, you're hoping as the preseason goes on, he'll produce more. Because Jameson, we know, is much more talented than anybody else on that field. He's going to have to show it. And I know the quarterback play was terrible and the offensive line was terrible. But again, Chase Cota went for 60. So I'm just saying.
Loving that point.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
I'm just saying, for J-Mo, there definitely is room for improvement, but I'm not going to overact and say he's going to suck. I won't say that.
No, he's not going to suck, but at some point, I don't want to hear anything more about his blocking because obviously you have to block on the outside in order to be a complete wide receiver, but you have to make plays. You have to catch the football. You have to score touchdowns. You have to get first downs. It's not just about blocking. If we're going to keep complimenting his blocking when he doesn't produce on the outside, line him up next to Frank Ragnow then.
Well,
come on.
Well, Sam, to your point, we're not paying him to block. You're
right.
paying him to catch the football and make plays and be dynamic. That's why you drafted him. But I guess at this point, with only one training camp, you're kind of just looking for some small takeaways here because, to your point, if you get 7 targets, you got to come down with more of them, especially that ball. Like, that ball was one of the few well-thrown balls by Nate Sudfeld, and he had a somewhat clean pocket, and again, he just didn't come down with it. So it is what it is. Joe says, Jeff, no Pascal love. Your thoughts? Pascal, he's solid, but, it's not a guy that, there's many other people to talk about. I think Pascal will be fine. He's going to be a guy we evaluate come the regular season. I'm excited for Pascal, no doubt about it, Joe. And Bart from Sterling Heights Comments, that was J-Mo's first full game. We got another comment too. Dude caught the 2-point conversion. He did. One-handed catch there. You got
well. Here's the thing, Sam.
Yeah.
And to the point, he just dropped a wide open pass. He was kind of not throwing a fit, but you could tell he was upset after that, and he was demanding the ball. They threw it back to him. He had that, and then it was 1st and 15, a 7-8 yard catch. Now the thing that I didn't like about it is he pointed like he got a first down after that, which I was like, J-Mo, 2nd and 8 right now. What are we doing? But he did bounce back and get the 2-point conversion. So hopefully that drop was kind of like the Sam Laporta thing, where it's like, all right, nerves are out. He was like, oh, this is touchdown. That ball, when you're a receiver and you see a ball like that, that thing sits in the air forever. It doesn't, but when you're running those routes, it's like all the lights come on, and now you got to start thinking, and that's just where you got to shake those nerves off. And I think once he got it out of his system, I think he'll bounce back next week, or I should say, hopefully he will. And once he does, I think we can all see this kind of de-escalate. Now, people are obviously still going to hate. If J-Mo would have caught that ball, people would still be hating on J-Mo, but I think we just need to give him more time. It's the first game of preseason.
And Sam, you kind of scoffed a little bit when I said the 2-point conversion,
yes.
But you can't crap on a man for dropping a ball, but then he makes a one-handed catch in the end zone, although it was a 2-point, and to be like, ugh, it is what it is. Like, no, that matters. If the drop matters, then that matters.
Okay, but I would say that catching that pass, that 40-plus yard pass from Nate Sudfeld that he could have maybe got for a touchdown is a little bit more important than a 2-point conversion. That's all I'm saying. I hear people almost use that 2-point conversion catch as an excuse to be like, you see, he's that's. But
some
not
people.
You. I'm not saying you, Lucas. I'm just saying that. And this is what has always been my issue with Jameson Williams. And not Jameson Williams himself, but with his stupor fans at this point. Because there are a lot of people who maybe, I would say, throw some unnecessary jabs at Jameson Williams for stuff that he's done off the field. A lot of that stuff I don't give a damn about. But because of that, there have been people who I think defend him for everything, no matter what. And that's kind of what gets on my nerves. It's okay to say that he had an underwhelming preseason game. I think if you say he had a good preseason game, then you don't expect him to be great. That's what I'm saying.
No, we expect him to be great, but my point is, you look at the drop he had against Deonte Banks, which I caught on video. Yeah, he has to come down with that. But then you can also say, both things can be true. The catch he made, the one-hander for the 2-point conversion, yeah, that was impressive. He made it with one hand for a guy that had his hands questioned. Like, that you take away. I don't think it's, the most important play, he messed up, so everything else just kind of gets disregarded. Like, no, that play matters too. They needed that play to get the 2-point conversion, and it ended up mattering in the end. So that's my thoughts.
Sure.
I think if you got to be consistent. If you're gonna critique him for missing that throw that Nate Sudfeld threw to him, that he dropped, you got to give credit for him making the 2-point conversion. I think both those things have to be aligned.
And I'm not talking about you guys when I talk about the Jameson Williams fanboys that get on my nerves. You guys have been a little bit more fair about it than some. And yes, that catch for a 2-point conversion was impressive. My point is that if he does make that catch from Nate Sudfeld where he beat Deonte Banks, might have scored a touchdown, then we're looking at this game completely different, and that's fair. If you have an opportunity to make explosive plays and you don't make it, especially when when the throw was perfect, you're going to get criticized. It's just fair. If he gets that drop out of his system and doesn't do that during the regular season, then I will be like, that was all nothing. But I would really like to see what he does on the road at Arrowhead in week 1. Oops.
Oh my,
Oops.
Flannel.
Oops.
Well,
He just had to say it. He just had to say
Well,
it.
hold on. Well, to be fair,
Damn, I forgot.
Hold on. To be fair, we did see him coming off an injury. We saw him what he did at Green Bay. I mean, he had a touchdown catch in primetime football for the Lions to have a winning record, and it got called back. So it's not like we've never seen J-Mo make plays in an actual game. He's done that. Now, would you like him to be more involved and get the football to him more often? Yes, but it didn't happen that way last year. He didn't have the chemistry with Goff. He was playing limited snaps. But we do know, Green Bay, he caught that touchdown that was called back. He came down with that, but who was throwing it? Jared Goff. Not Nate Sudfeld, Jared Goff. You go back to Minnesota, wide open, 40-yard catch. That's a touchdown catch by Jared Goff. Like, it's not like I mean, you can't overanalyze it like J-Mo's never played in a regular season game. Like, he's made plays. I know you have big expectations, but he'll be fine. I'm not too worried. Does he have to produce when he comes back? Yes, but he's shown flashes already. It's not like J-Mo's done nothing, and now we're taking a preseason game as the end-all, be-all. Like, you got a little more of a sample size.
I'm just saying, though, that I would say that his NFL career has been closer to doing nothing than not doing nothing. I will just say that. And you know what? I really didn't want this to be a Jameson Williams slander fest, but I don't think this is slander.
You're the one who said it.
When Jeff said Jameson Williams is not like he's done nothing. Flannel perked up so fast. Pause.
Yeah, I know, because it's funny how Chase Cota, James Mitchell, and Antoine Green all produce better than Jameson Williams.
But has Chase Cota done what Jameson's done last year?
Jameson Williams didn't do hardly anything last year. Come on.
Sam, 3 times the football touched his hands, he made plays. Chase Cota cannot say that, nor can anybody else. And the plays he made, nobody has made, besides Amon-Ra.
And you know what? I'm obviously not an idiot. I'm not saying that Chase Cota's better. I'm just giving it context. I'm not saying that Antoine Green is better. I'm not saying that James Mitchell is better. My point is that when Jameson Williams made that touchdown catch against Minnesota, we were all on cloud 9, myself included. If you would have told me, or any of you, and don't lie, I know you guys are about to lie to me, your noses are going to be like Pinocchio's. If you would have been told that he did not catch a single pass the rest of that game, you would have been like, oh, absolutely. I mean, you would have thought he would. If I told you he wouldn't have caught a pass the rest of the season, but played in basically every game, you guys would have said that was a disappointment. Don't lie. That's all I'm saying.
We're talking about last year?
Yes, we're talking about last year.
I don't know about that, because I didn't even expect him to play for real last year,
most people did not.
The fact that we saw him, I was like, sweet, but I'm not like, I wasn't having serious expectations, because a lot of times he was out there too, as they were running like the eye. They'd have Kabinda and Jamal Williams out there, and it was an obvious running situation. They kind of had J-Mo just split out as the single receiver. So it's not like he's going to be much of a receiving threat at that point either. So it's not like they were just trying to get him in the game and acclimated. So I get what you're saying, Flannel. I just don't agree with it. That's all.
It's just different viewpoints. Like, and I get maybe Sam expected him to be Randy Moss when he returned off the ACL injury. I did not.
No, I didn't.
And that's the part of it I think is miscommunicated. For me, I wanted J-Mo to show things, right? Showed some flashes last year. I didn't think that last year I wanted him to win 8 games. Maybe J-Mo gets back, show some things. I think he did. Now, were you expecting more production? Maybe, but check the number of snaps he played in each of those games. He didn't play a ton. And the targets, I mean, I don't blame the Lions for not throwing it to J-Mo, because, again, you had connection all season with other receivers. So that whole thing is misconstrued. Jameson Williams, at least to me, he made 3 huge plays, pretty impactful plays. Now, one of them was called back. But regardless, I'm excited for J-Mo. I think this preseason game, you can go watch it and be disappointed, whatever it is, but he's still going to play a lot more in the preseason. So we shall see.
And I can promise every single one of you, even though you guys don't believe me because I'm not a hater, if Jameson Williams makes that catch where he beat Deonte Banks, I'm not saying any of this.
One catch.
It was a huge play in the game. That's what you're paid to do. If he does good, I cheer. If he does bad, I boo. Is that correct? I mean, oh my God. I just have to crown him on day one, don't I?
No.
I have to crown him on day one or else I'm a hater. You know what? Actually, I met last night with my group of people who are we're all scheming to get Jameson Williams out of town. We actually put a curse on his hand so that he wouldn't catch that ball. Come on, guys. You hear how ridiculous I sound?
No one's saying you have to crown the man, but this is what I love about Sam. He'll say like, I'm not even trying to make it personal with Jameson Williams, but then he'll say like, oh, can't wait to see him week 1 at Arrowhead.
What will he be doing week 1 at Arrowhead? Oh, that's right, nothing.
Nothing. But that's true. What if it hurts the team?
But we already know this. We
we know this. But then when I bring up the one-handed 2-point conversion, he's like, oh,
it was a 2-point
conversion.
It was a 2-point conversion for like however long the 2-point conversion is, like 2 yards.
Sam, if he dropped that, you would have had a problem with it.
I would have had a problem with it because you got to catch that. You got to catch everything. If you get your hands on it, you got to catch it.
He made the catch, and you're like, oh.
Congratulations! It was a couple of yards. Catch the one for over 40 when you're actually when you're open. And maybe he should try catching with one hand every single time, or else he wouldn't just be like, oops. Whoops, it's right in my hand.
No,
come on.
This is my Sam. You understand what I'm saying, though? He made the 2-point conversion catch, and you're like, but if he missed it, you would have tore him up today about it.
You got to make that play, though.
So it doesn't matter since he made the catch, but if he did it, it's a huge problem.
You sound like me with C.J. Stroud right now.
But hey,
come on! Am I crazy here? Like, JB, voice of reason.
No, we need the voice of reason. Yeah,
voice of reason.
Flannel, Jeff, Lucas, we're all gonna shut up. Voice of reason's not talking.
All right. So look, Sam, I'm not gonna burn your take here. I will give you a little bit of credit just because, yes, I think J-Mo's performance in the preseason game was a little underwhelming because I feel like everyone here and everyone around the nation did have a little bit of an expectation for him. But I'm not going to let that poo-poo on the player that J-Mo is and can be with the proper quarterback and the right quarterback in place, which I think that will happen once Teddy Bridgewater gets acclimated a little bit more with the team and you see him out there with Teddy and once he's back with Goff. So I can't just completely poo-poo on J-Mo because he does have skills and he is a very good player. It's just he's just shaking off the dust from an off season, especially with the quarterback that he had out there as well too. So I still believe in J-Mo.
No, and that's fair, JB, and that's why I like you because you are the voice of reason. But can we please stop talking about how it was Nate Sudfeld in that one play? He made the best throw he's probably made in his life, right? Nate says, "Oh, wait a minute, were the laces out or something like that?" I thought that only applied to kicks, but I guess when it's Jameson Williams, it's another reason to make excuses. Stop it.
Now for J-Mo, there is no question. I will not argue this. He has to produce when he comes back.
Sure.
There are big expectations for him. He has to produce. I agree there. But like the nitpicking, and I get like, again, he has to make that play. Nate Sudfeld threw one of his only good balls he threw all game to J-Mo. He has to come down with that. But again, if you're going to overreact about that, we got to keep that same energy about the 2-point conversion. That's my point.
So are you saying that
like he converted the 2-point play, he caught it with one hand, impressive.
So and now you're going to get the people who are like that 2-point conversion catch to give you 2 points. What a 2.5-yard play is indisputable video evidence that he's already a superstar.
No, I'm not going to go that far.
Okay, I'm just saying.
I just want you to be consistent here.
But that 40+ yard catch that would have put them in the red zone at the very least would have been more impactful than a 2-point conversion. Is that also fair?
That's fair.
Okay.
That's fair. All I'm saying is you can't have it both ways, right? You got to be able to give credit and also critique. I like that he caught the 2-point with one hand, but he also has to come down with that throw by Nate Sudfeld.
And Sam, to be optimistic about this, I don't think any time we expected J-Mo to get a goal line fade route. I think we can all agree with that. That's not in his game. So he showed us something in his game and he disappointed us. But then he showed us something that we didn't really expect. So I understand you're upset about it, but there can be some optimism because at the same time, he is going to be scoring touchdown for the Detroit Lions this season.
Okay,
and it is going to work out. It is going to work out.
You know what, Lucas? And you know what? Why like I am who I am? Because I can acknowledge that maybe that play, that 2-point conversion, is proof that he can be more of a red zone threat in terms of getting fades and everything. That's fair.
Hey.
You know, that's fair because
came out on a positive side here.
All right, but you know what? Show it in the regular season. Show it in week 1 at Kansas City. Show it in week 2 at home to Seattle.
Okay,
Oops.
he has to do that.
That's the finish it on that.
But then he'll say, well, it's not personal. I don't want to make this personal. And then he'll throw a shot at the same time. Listen, Jameson, please don't leave. We love you. We can't wait to see you. Hopefully you actually do show out in the regular season. That's what we all expect. That's what J-Mo has to do. I don't want to be one of those guys that defend J-Mo blindly, even if he struggles. But at the same time, like, there is a ton of talent there. And I'm not going to sit here and not give him any credit for a one-handed catch in the red zone for a 2-point conversion, but then crap on the man for dropping a 40-yard play. It is what it is. We shall see more of him, though, as the preseason goes on. But before we go to break, though, can I hear about